Now we're going to talk about elasticity. Elasticity of demand is the degree to which consumption demand fluctuates. Really, we're going to look at a better definition than that. It's the percentage change in a quantity consumed that is caused by a percentage change in price. So a good example of this is a 1% increase in price may result in a 5.5% decrease in sales in a certain market, whether that's a product or service. So the price elasticity is negative 0.5 for that product. So, as we have mentioned before, an increase in price practically always results in a decrease in demand. So elasticities are always or nearly always negative values. And economists and other folks, we just ignore the negative sign. So if the elasticity is negative 2.5, it just reads or says 2.5. We're going to look at a table that shows some samples with attendance data for 4 market segments of a sports team. Okay, so let's look at the market segment called child for this sports team. And we can see that from 2014 to 2016, we've increased the price of a ticket per se for the child. And then so it's gone from $3 to $3.50 to $4. And then we look to the right, as that number has increased, our attendance has decreased. So we went from $3 to $3.50 for price. Our attendance went from 150 to 120K. So we have an elasticity of negative 1.44. Then we let's go down to youth, right? So we've, for youth, which is maybe a different segment as far as, maybe child's 0 to 8 and youth is 8 to 18 or something. So we've increased the price from $4 to $6 for that segment. And we notice we've got a decrease in the attendance, but not quite as much. So when we went from 14 to 15, we increased it $1, and we saw a drop in attendance, but not a lot. So our elasticity was relatively lean. And if we look at the adults, we look at an increase of from $7 to $8 and $8 to $10. We can see that the attendance dropped, but again, not by an entire lot. The drop was less than the child, but more than the youth as far as attendance goes. So our elasticity is negative 1. And then we look at the seniors, and this is the one that was most affected, as you can see. We increased the price just by 50 cents from 2014 to 2015, and our elasticity was negative 2.78. So the increase in price for that market segment does affect the attendance more so than the other segments. Okay, so we have the 4 market segments, but we can really break these down into 3 groups. The youth market segment, where the elasticity was less than 1, is going to be called a relatively inelastic segment, meaning that we can increase prices and increase revenues, and if we decrease prices, we decrease revenues, right? So as we increase pricing, the attendance doesn't drop to the point that we decrease revenue. Makes sense. Then we have the children or the child and senior market segments where their elasticity was both greater than 1 overall. Realistically, what this means is as we increase price, the significant drop in attendance is going to affect the overall revenue. So an increase in price is actually going to decrease the end revenue overall. So that's considered relatively elastic. Then the adult market, where we just had that elasticity of 1 on the dot, right? So price increase does negatively impact attendance. So as we increase our price, our attendance goes down, but our total revenue will stay the same. And that's called a unitary market segment. Here's a graphic where we can look at the slopes of these lines. So we got price and quantity, right? So basically what we're looking at for all of these, as the price drops, the quantity or the demand increases. So the elastic group has a smaller slope, right? And the inelastic group has a very high slope. And again, these are both negative slopes because we're going down and to the right, but we're looking at it as a positive number overall. Overall, what you want to take away from this is you got to understand how your customers react to price changes.